Welcome to the organ. As one of the most beautiful, powerful, and interesting musical instruments to see and to hear, the organ has enchanted audiences for centuries. Whether they be historic or modern, learning to play them begins with an understanding of what you see and what you hear, and how to operate its controls. Let's begin with what you see. A pipe organ makes its music by blowing air through pipes. A digital organ imitates the sound of the pipe organ electronically. The organist operates the two organs in much the same way. So, when I refer to pipes in this video, understand that the digital organ imitates it electronically. When you look at a pipe organ, you can usually see some of the pipework. This is called the pipe display. Sometimes all or most of the pipework is contained in a self-standing organ case. That's an encased organ, or an encased division of the organ. The pipework that is contained in a box with louvers that open and close is enclosed. The swell division, for example, is an enclosed division. We often call any box with louvers a swell box because it swells when the louvers are opened. In digital organs, the pipework is replaced by speakers, which are usually located out of sight. Whether you look at a digital or a pipe organ, somewhere you will find an organ console. Sometimes they're not easy to find, though. The console is the control center of the organ. Most of this video will focus on the most common things you will find on the console. Although I am demonstrating on American organs, mostly digital, nearly all of what I say can apply to classical or church organs anywhere in the world, digital or pipe. And because this is an introduction to the organ, I will limit my demonstration to a fairly basic two-manual organ that complies with the American Guild of Organists, or AGO, standards. Before I get into the details, here is the general layout. The console has several keyboards. Those that you play with your hands are called manual keyboards, or manuals for short. The keyboard that you play with your feet is called the pedal, or pedals. AGO standard manuals have 61 keys with 32 keys in the pedal and have a concave radiating shape. This is designed for ease in playing the pedal keys. Other common pedal boards have 58 keys in the manuals and 30 keys in the pedal and have a flat, straight shape. The most important manual is called the grate. On a two-manual organ, it is the lower one, and on a three- or four-manual organ, it is the second lowest. The swell is the higher manual, located just above the grate. Down near the pedals, you will find another type of pedal, expression pedals, and the crescendo pedal, sometimes referred to as tilting pedals. To each side are toe studs or toe pistons. Up above the manuals you will find a stop rail or a coupler rail. These are rocker tabs, one type of stop control. Stop tabs, shaped like little tombstones, are also common. Or to each side of the manuals you may find stop jams. Usually we find draw knobs or stop knobs in stop jams. Pull it out to turn it on, engage or activate the stop, and push it in to turn it off. Underneath each manual you may find its piston rail. These thumb pistons, or just pistons, are designed to be operated by the thumb. But you can also use your fingers. The manuals are flanked by key cheeks. Many modern organs have a display of some type and some display controls. And of course, we have the music rack. Last but not least, in the general layout, is the power switch. I already turned it on. Power switches come in many different forms. I've seen buttons, light switches, draw knobs, keys that you turn, toggle switches hidden under the manuals, or switches in a little drawer or up on the wall. If you're visiting an organ, be sure your host tells you how to power it up before they leave you on your own. Now that you know the general layout, I'll get into some detail. The grate manual controls the grate division of organ pipes. It contains the principal chorus, the backbone of organ tone. The foundation of the principal chorus is the 8-foot principal, or diapason. I'll play middle C. As an 8-foot stop, it speaks at the normal pitch, the same pitch you would hear by playing middle C at the piano. 8 foot means that the longest pipe in that set or rank is about 8 feet long. Next, I add the 4-foot principal. When you play middle C, the 4-foot principal sounds 1 octave higher. Next, I add the 2-foot principal. It speaks 2 octaves higher. I'm still playing middle C. Finally, I add the chorus mixture. It contributes brightness by adding 3 or 4 very high-pitched octaves and fifths. The number of pitches added is indicated by the Roman numeral. I'm still playing middle C. In some organs, there is a 16-foot principal, flute, or string on the grate. A 16-foot stop speaks 1 octave lower than normal pitch. Middle C. Here is the principal chorus 8, 4, and 2. Now adding the mixture. Now adding the 16-foot stop. In pipe organs, the grate is normally exposed or encased. That is, it is not contained in a swell box. But on many digital organs, an expression pedal labeled grate/pedal is often provided. This puts the grate and pedal divisions in a swell box electronically. The normal position for all expression pedals, not the crescendo pedal, is fully open. That means toe forward. The Swell manual controls the swell division of organ pipes. It contains flute, string, and reeds, and some principals, all contained in a swell box controlled by the expression pedal located above the centermost pedals E and F. First, make sure the swell expression pedal is fully open, and that I have done. I'll start with an 8-foot flute. I'll add a 4-foot flute. And I'll add a 2-foot flute. These are effectively a flute chorus. To that you can add a 2 2/3 foot stop. This sounds the pitch 1 octave and a perfect fifth higher. So when I play middle C with that stop pulled, I hear the G 1 octave and a fifth higher. Adding it to the 8, 4, and 2 foot flutes, the 2 2/3 lends color and richness to the combination. And to that you can add a 1 3/5 foot stop. This sounds the pitch 2 octaves and a major third higher. So when I play middle C with that stop pulled, I hear E 2 octaves and a major third higher. Adding it to the 8, 4, 2 2/3, and 2 foot stops, it lends a reedy color to the combination. This combination of 8, 4, 2 2/3, 2, and 1 3/5 foot stops is called the cornet, spelled like cornet. It's especially useful as a solo combination. For example, when the right hand plays a solo sound on one manual, while the left hand plays the accompaniment on another. In addition to the flutes, one 8-foot string is often found on the swell. Another 8-foot string that serves as a companion to the main string is tuned slightly sharp. It is called a celeste, and when the two stops are used in combination, we hear an ethereal, soothing imitation of the string orchestra. It often serves as the accompaniment part of a solo and accompaniment combination. The swell is also home to chorus reeds. Their fiery tone often serves as the crowning glory of the full organ. Here's the 8-foot trumpet alone. Added to other 8 and 4-foot and stops on the swell. The full swell under expression can be an exciting effect. The two expression pedals can be ganged together by using the all swells feature. Then the entire organ is expressed on the swell expression pedal. I'll bring in the full principal chorus on the grate and couple them with the swell using all swells to swell. Playing on the grate. The pedal division is known for its deeper 16-foot stops, the 16-foot principal, and then the 16-foot flute. Principals 16, 8, and 4. There are often two 16-foot flutes, one a little larger than the other. This larger one and the smaller one. In the pedal, 16-foot flutes are usually combined with something at 8-foot pitch. Here are 16 and 8-foot flutes. Reeds often appear in the pedal at 16, 8, and 4-foot pitches. In organ terminology, reeds include orchestral brass instruments. Here's the 16-foot reed. Adding the 8-foot trumpet. Adding the 4-foot reed. Some organs include the ultimately deep 32-foot tone, which sounds at 2 octaves below normal pitch. A 32-foot flute, or principal, and a 32-foot reed are common. So far, all the stops I've demonstrated are speaking stops, stops that have a speaking voice of their own. Other stops simply manipulate or rearrange speaking stops. We call these non-speaking stops. The swell to great coupler, for example, copies all stops drawn on the swell into the great. So, with great principals 8, 4, and 2 drawn, and several stops on the swell drawn, including trumpet 8, if I play on the great, I hear no swell with its 8-foot trumpet. But if I draw the swell to great, or swell to great 8, coupler, and play on the great, I hear both the swell and the great playing. The swell to great, or swell to great 8 coupler, is a unison coupler, meaning that everything is copied from swell to great at its normal pitch. 8s copy as 8s, 4s as 4s, and so forth. Some organs have superoctave and suboctave couplers. A superoctave coupler, like swell to great 4, copies everything from swell to great an octave higher than its normal speaking pitch. 8s copy as 4s, 4s as 2s, and so forth. A suboctave coupler does the same thing 1 octave lower. Another important non-speaking stop is the tremulant, which tries to imitate the vocal tremolo by gently varying the wind pressure into the pipe. Here's the 8-foot oboe on the swell with no trem. Now with trem added. Both the speed and the depth of the tremulant are usually adjustable within limits. Now I'll talk about building stop combinations using the resources that I've already covered. For this I will use Prelude on Deliverance by Richard Elliott. The composer has indicated a registration combination. In that case, I always try to follow the composer's intentions first. He asks for principal 8 on the great, strings 8 on the swell, and pedal flute 16 and swell to pedal. Unless the music or conditions suggest otherwise, begin with the expression pedals fully open. As you listen to the first attempt at realizing the composer's intentions, use your ears. If it doesn't seem to work on your organ, make adjustments, substitutions, or just start over and use your imagination. It seems to work nicely on this organ. Now that I've worked so hard at building the combination, I'll save it by using the combination action. This is a memory system designed to save combinations for easy recall by simply pushing a thumb piston or a toe stud. First, choose a memory level. Let me explain. Most organs with combination actions have between 5 and 20 general combination pistons, or presets. Because we need many more than that for saved combinations with multiple users and multiple pieces, modern organs make multiple memory levels available, or on this organ, capture memories. For example, if an organ has 10 general combinations or presets, memory level 1 allows you to set a combination on each of the 10 presets. Memory level 2 allows you to set new combinations on each of the 10 presets. 10 new combinations on memory level 2. Memory 3 has 10 more, and so forth. It's not uncommon for an organ to have 8, 16, 32, or 100 memory levels. With USB thumb drives, unlimited numbers of memory levels can be available. Memory levels can be locked. On many organs, memory levels 1 and 2 are locked so that good combinations can always be available on the fly. In this organ, memory levels 15 and 16 are locked. So we'll navigate to memory level 3. Next, we choose a general combination piston. I'll choose preset 4 because it's easy to reach. I'm going to choose my combination again. And with my combination chosen, I press the set button, or set piston, or setter, with my left thumb and hold it. It is usually marked set, or just the letter S. With the set piston pressed, with my right thumb I press piston 4 and then release both pistons. There, it should be saved, even if the organ is turned off and later turned back on, as long as the battery backup is good. Now test your saved combination by pressing the general cancel piston, usually marked 0 or the abbreviation CAN, always located low right. Then press preset 4 without pressing the set piston. Your saved combination should appear just like mine did. Mark it on your score in pencil. I usually indicate the memory level by the abbreviation M3 with a double underline. I then write the preset number in a circle. Just use a system that works for you. Just when I thought I was finished, I notice the composer says, change to flutes 8 and 4 on repeat. I'll use preset 5 to make that change after the repeat with the right hand, during the 4 measures after the right hand drops out and before it returns. With the combination in place, retire the great principal 8 and engage flutes 8 and 4. Then set the new combination on preset 5 the way we did for preset 4. Press and hold the set piston, press piston 5, and release them both. After the right hand melody drops out at the bottom of the page, write 5 in a circle, knowing that you'll have 4 measures to collect your thoughts and make the change with your right thumb. Even though I used a general combination piston, the only change I made was on the grate, so I could have chosen to use instead a grate divisional combination piston, or local. While general combination pistons are usually located to the left, the divisionals are usually centered underneath the manual that they control. Sometimes manual divisionals also affect the pedal combinations, but usually they do not. Pedal divisions usually appear as toe studs, as thumb pistons under the lowest manual, or both. So for this piece, using great divisional 5 is just an option. Set, great divisional 5, and release. Reversible pistons can also be useful. These each have important functions that are built into the piston and are not user adjustable. When pressed, they perform that assigned function. When pressed again, they reverse that function. They are technically toggles: on, off, on, off. The grate to pedal reversible is an important one. It is not actually a grate to pedal coupler, but it operates that coupler. On, off, on, off. It's usually located in a very prominent position as a toe stud just to the right of the crescendo pedal. Here's an example of using the grate to pedal reversible to keep the pedal easily balanced to the manual when you change between swell and grate. Consider registering a simple meditative hymn for prelude or postlude. I want to play it twice through, first softly, then again a little richer. I start on the swell with 2 soft 8-foot stops. On the grate, I pull 2 soft 8-foot stops and a soft 4-foot stop. And the pedal are soft 16 and 8-foot stops. One way to build richness is to duplicate pitches. So I'll couple swell to grate, which copies those 2 swell 8-foot stops into the grate. Then when I play on the grate, it is as though I were playing both the swell and the grate at the same time, but my hands are on the grate. So for my hymn prelude, I play the first verse on the swell with its 2 8-foot stops, and for the second time through, I move my hands to the grate, and the combination is richer because I'm now hearing 4 8-foot stops and a 4-foot stop. When I move to the grate, the pedal combination, which was balanced to the swell, could be a little stronger to better balance with the larger stop combination when I play on the grate. I can achieve that balance by pressing the grate to pedal reversible, which operates the grate to pedal coupler, either with the right toe or with the grate to pedal reversible thumb piston, if there is one. If and when I move back to the swell, I simply press the reversible again, and I'm back where I started. I'll begin my hymn prelude with no grate to pedal coupler on, beginning at the end of my first verse on the swell. Returning to the swell. One other common reversible is the Tutti or sforzando, marked Tutti or SFZ. This engages full organ when pressed, usually blindly, that is, without showing the stops being brought in. When pressed again, it reverses that action, leaving only the stops that had been engaged before pressing the reversible. So on, off, on, off. my 8, 4, and 2 principals, adding a Tutti, pressing it again. The rightmost tilting pedal is usually a crescendo pedal. It affects a gradual crescendo by blindly engaging stops in a predetermined order until reaching just short of the full organ. This is usually indicated in the display. Then pressing the Tutti reversible brings on the actual full organ. Pressing Tutti again returns to fully open crescendo pedal, and gradually closing it returns to the stops that were engaged before using it. In this case, I've got a soft 8 on the grate and soft 16 and 8 in the pedal. The crescendo can pause at any point along the way to achieve a good combination. However, one cannot be absolutely certain which stops are sounding until actually playing. So registration by crescendo pedal is not the best way to spend one's lifetime as an organist. In modern organs, the order in which the stops are engaged in a crescendo pedal can be changed by the user. In some organs, especially older ones, that order should be adjusted only by the technician. Some modern organs have an alternate crescendo or orchestral crescendo piston. This usually makes available a richer orchestral crescendo. You might also find Tutti 1 and Tutti 2 like on this organ. Likewise, they are just two different kinds of Tutti, possibly one with mixtures more prominent and another dominated by reeds. We've now reached the end of my Welcome to the Organ video. Organs have much more to offer than I was able to cover. I hope that you'll enjoy taking the time to really learn the resources of whatever organ you play. Thank you.